my goodness. Hey, so I found a cool internet thing.
Huh?
I found a cool internet thing.
Right?
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Wait, can you say it? Yes, I am again.
Why?
Good, just checking your ability to hear me. Okay. Uh, so okay, X. Okay, Trix. I need your help with this. This is not a copy pasta. This is a long read, but I feel like it for my safety or well-being, we could very well depend on this. So this is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask. And this isn't the creepiest stuff that has ever happened to me in my life. But having said that, I recently moved into my dorm and started as a sophomore in college. And I had a friend of mine give me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in like the last decade. His Nintendo 64 came with a one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I came bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. You know what that means? Tricks?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes, yes.
cool. Um, that weekend I decided to drive around to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, setting up the local garage sales, hoping to score some good deals on from ignorant parents who are trying to sell video games that their kids had for a candy bar. Cough.
Yeah. True. Relatable.
Yeah, I wonder where that came from. That's not a story that happened to me. Anyways, I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium,
Yeah.
GoldenEye,
Yeah.
or as he says.
What?
Okay, I was trying to get you to say a cuss word for me. F
No.
Zero, and two other controllers for $2. All of that for
Wow.
$2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I have no idea why it did. There were no cars. There was only one table set up with a bunch of random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance, for lack of a better word, was displeasing. It was a bit odd. If you would ask me, I would tell you why I thought he was displeasing, but I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't really explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon where there were other people around within shouting distance, I probably would not have even thought about approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for, and immediately I noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it, and I forced myself to look to his left eye instead of trying to not be offended. I asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he told me that he had no idea what a video game was.
Wow.
But to my surprise, he said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head up back into his garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice that what he was selling on the table, scattered across his table, was rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Oh, the Rorschach ink blot tests. Yeah,
Yeah, those things.
the
No, those
Rorschach.
things.
Do you see a butterfly? A couple
Yeah,
dancing? Yeah, those
I
things.
remember that. I know that.
Ugh, that makes me happy when I got that test. I actually got that test in class too.
Just saying no to every question because you just want to get out of there. No, no, fuck it, no, bye.
I actually put thought into my answers, like, huh, let me see what I can actually get out of this. Anyways, curious. I looked at them. I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason it almost looked like Majora's Mask. The same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding forward. Initially I thought it was just... initially I just thought that whoa, this is worded weird. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, that some Freudian stuff was projecting itself into the ink blots. But given the events that happened afterward, I'm not sure how. I should have asked the old man about it. I wish I had asked the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped ink blot, I looked up, and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling. I'll admit I jumped out of reflex, and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was the standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on the back in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence it was, and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free. Obviously, that's a good sign, right?
Yeah.
That
sure.
that it used to belong to a kid that was about my age that didn't live here anymore.
Weird.
There was something weird about how that man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to it then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. Boy. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since this looked to be a pretty shady cartridge.
Yeah, sure.
And there was no guarantee it would work, but then the optimist inside me interjected that it was maybe some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that all I needed, and that was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and he smiled at me again and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least it's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging feeling that the man had said something else. My fears had been confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine, and there was one save file simply named Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying goodbye, Ben. Not goodbye then. I felt bad for the man. Obviously, a grandparent had obviously been going senile, and I, for some reason or other, reminded him of his grandson, Ben. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file, eyeballing it. Tell it was pretty far in the game. He had almost all the masks and 3/4 of the remains of the bosses. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 by the Stone Tower Temple, with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking that it was such a shame that he'd been so close to beating the game but never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game, ready to relive my childhood. Exciting, huh?
Oh god.
For such a shady-looking game cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran, literally just like a retail copy of the game, save for a few minor hiccups now and then, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad.
Sure, everything promo.
However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and at other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming causing our files to be mixed up or something. It kind of creeps me out a bit after a while, and it was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file out of respect of the game's original owner, but it's not like I needed 2 save files anyway. And hoping that would solve the problem, it did and didn't. Now NPCs would call me anything. Where my name should be in the dialogue, there was just a blank space. My save file name was still called Link though. Frustrated, and with some homework to do, I just put the game down for the day. How you feeling?
That's creepy.
I started playing the game again last night, getting the Lens of Truth and showing my way towards completing the Shadow Temple. Now, some of you hardcore Majora's Mask players out there know about the 4th day glitch. For those of you who don't, you can Google it, but the gist is the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit 000 on the final day, you can talk to an astronomer and look through a telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears, and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you were doing. Deciding to try and do the glitch and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora's boss fight room at the end of the game. The trippy boxed in arena, staring at the Skull Kids hovering above me. Alright, I'm gonna be right back. Hey, what's up?
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Perfect. Where was I again? I think it was Majora's boss fight room. Something about Skull Kid hovering over me, right? Anyways, what? There was no sound, just him floating in the air above me. And the background music was regular for the area, but, you know, still creepy. Immediately, my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, but no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when the text appeared on my screen. Not sure why. but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text where you get the message when you get the room key from Anju at the Stockpot Inn. But why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if it was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was. To think that someone could even reprogram the game like that was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen. Again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple, boss. Yes? No? I paused for a second, contemplating that I should press the button and how the game would react. When I realized that I couldn't select no, I took a deep breath and pressed yes. The screen faded to white, with the words, Dawn of a New Day, with the subtitle E beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced. The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having this experience of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I'm not normally a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even knew existed. It was such a twist, a powerful presence that it seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of Clocktown as you normally do from the start of day one, only to find that all the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the fourth day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around the outside of the tower. But this time they were all gone. What replaced them was this ominous feeling that there was something out there in the same area as me and that was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow. At this point, I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt that I was personally in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It got the Song of Healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but it was played in reverse. The music would get louder, building up as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did. And the constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then I would hear the faint laugh of the happy masked salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was hearing things or where did it go? I lost it.
Second sentence.
Of the second paragraph?
No, of the first one.
I wasn't sure if I was just hearing things, but loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all the 4 zones of Clocktown. Only nothing to find. No one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Hopelessly broken. As the reverse Song of Healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game, as though I just walked through a ghost town. I don't know whether it was the combination of the out-of-place textures and the atmosphere, and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted. But I was really on the verge of tears, and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here, and this powerful sense of depression was both foreign and crippling. Boop, 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 boop. I tried to leave Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape, and I did not want to be here. But every time I played the Song of Time or the Song of Soaring, it would only say, "Your notes echo too far, or echo far, but nothing happens." By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt that I would be too vulnerable to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself in the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, something happened. That's when it happened. Link grabbed his head, and the screen flashed for a brief moment of the happy mask salesman smiling at me. Not Link. Me, with the Skull Kid scream playing in the background. And when the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue, playing the song Eulogy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and I ran back out into South Clock Tower, and to my horror, the statue followed me, and the only way I can compare was Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation of the statue appearing, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or I don't even know what to say. Maybe haunting me? Over your shoulder. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics. But not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to make some weird animations, but that I had never seen him do before. He would flail his arms around or spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy mask salesman again for a brief moment, and I was face to face with that statue again. I ended up running into the Swordmaster's Jojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic, I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one. But as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me into the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused, I backed into a corner, and just as I stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me, suddenly the screen flashed again to the happy mask salesman, and Link turned to face my screen. Standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left, the fourth wall was completely shattered, and I ran out of the dojo terrified. Suddenly, the game wrapped me into an underground tunnel, and the reverse Song of Healing queued up again, and I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again. This time, aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it would be summoned behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel, and it appeared in the southern clock tower. As I ran aimlessly in sheer panic, suddenly a reeded scream, and the screen faded to black as a dawn of a new day appeared again. Oops, I went too far. The screen faded in, and I was standing at the top of the clock tower with Skull Kid hovering over me again. I looked up, and the moon was back, just looming meters above my head. But the Skull Kid stared at me hauntingly with that mask. A new song was playing. The Stone Tower Temple themes played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at Skull Kid, and apparently it actually hit him. and he played an animation of it reeling back. I fired again, and on the third, text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good, hee hee hee." And I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screamed as he burst into flames, killing him instantly. I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself did not have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, Skull Kid laughed, and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames again, killing him instantly. This time during this death screen, faint sounds of the reverse Song of Healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time, that all there was an eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the Ocarina to either travel back or summon giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again was horrifically exploded into flames, and he died. How you doing?
Great. Good.
You do?
Yeah, I want to know how it ends.
Good, because don't worry, we're about a quarter of the way through.
What?
Yeah, look at the bar. We're right here.
Oh. Anyway, it's good.
Good. As the death screen neared its end, it began to charge, as if the cartridge was trying to possess a lot of something. Or trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time Link was lying on the ground, dead, in a position I had never seen in the game before. His head tilted towards the camera, with Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move. I couldn't press any buttons. All I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. In 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you out to the title screen.
Ouch.
Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, my save file was replaced with Your Turn. Your Turn had 3 hearts, no masks, and no items. I selected it, Your Turn, and immediately when I did, I was returned to the clock tower roof scene, with my Link dead and the Skull Kid hovering over, and the Skull Kid's laughing, looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up again, there was one more save file added now. Below, Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where it was before I deleted it. At the Stone Tower Temple, with the moon almost crashing, I turned the game off. At that point, I'm not superstitious, but this is way too messed up for even me. I haven't played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse Song of Healing music in my head, and just remembered the scene of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone, only to find a for sale sign in his front yard. When I rang the doorbell, no one was home. So I came back down the rest of my thoughts so now I'm back here writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this has grammatical errors and whatnot. I kept running out of no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game. Even more so now than that I relived it a second time writing this all down. But I think that there's still more to it than meets the eye. There's more that... And there's something calling me to investigate this further. I think Ben is something in this equation. I don't know what. And if I could get a hold of the old man, I'd be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tackling this game again. It had already taken its toll on my sanity, and I feel like, taking a toll on my sanity, I feel like. But the next time I do this, I'm going to record my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you can see the last 2 minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the eulogy. But it's here on YouTube now. I'm gonna stay in this thread here for a while longer before I fall asleep to answer any questions you guys might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas, theories, help shed some light onto this, or maybe things I should try and do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do all that all along. I don't believe in this paranormal stuff, but it's a little messed up. But maybe this Ben guy is a really good hacker or programmer. I don't want to think about the alternatives if he isn't. Anyways, that's the end of this copy-paste thing. I'm hoping maybe I can get some kind of running gag the developers had. And the other people have gotten gagged or hacked copies of this game. But this just really scares me.
Yeah.
Let's go here.
Wow. That's a glitch. Oh no, that's creepy. What? What? Oh, so nice.
Hmm?
Skip kid. He's gonna attack him? Yeah, right.
Yeah, remember this is the stuff that happened.
Yeah. Okay. What?
Anywho, I think we're gonna stop there for now. Good stopping point, right? I think so.
Yeah. That was creepy.